sempa de brane mamba obi som obi
94.7 Asempa FM Sony Ekosiisen dwumadi no asogo so a wotie no ma ye na ase ne mu nyina akwaba emfa momra Asempa FM so wotie na wa adwentra your WhatsApp number 0548 443 523 0548 443 523 all the messages nearby Benjamin Yakai. I'm a medical catcher must say Kojo Dankwa Ewa Deputy CEO Ghana Student Loan Trust Fund Wabe Cancer Ewaha Kofi Tonto political aid to the former Vice President Mahmoud Baumia on Wabe Cancer Ewaha and Atik Muhammad Penya or that Mazda Ikono ano Mazda Atik Mazda mass action for sustainable development Africa. Yeah. Mass action for sustainable development Africa. Charlie. Mazda. Eternity our friend Mazda.
Mazda.
Where Mazda. Yeah.
Sustainable no
Atik Mohammed ewa hama yemrana fe mema wona kwaba. Kojo dankwa ubedru haka na kwaba te sen.
Obi.
Yeah.
Mejo so. Ohe senia ho aye fei na ohe Atik odru ha ohe Tommy Hill figure shemo na ohe minya Kofi Tonto hwa ho fe ka wa efe na na watch no so the MC gold o
amamu papa nkwa
aban papa e dey aba we fita
white gold
na se we nye fita so no to e to shine
amamu papa aba
aban papa aba ye na ora John Dramani Mahama ene na mamuo ase
say wa head
oh na se hwese ne
aba na aba form
Tommy Hill figure
onim time me to achaji
oh to on time be
no mi bisa onim
to on time be o wa efe Atik why efe hwese na niam ekofem obi in the history of this country me sha say media manyosom asemachi obi me hunu say a dollar and the cedi no now apart from time President Kufo be a redenomination and it was expected because of the redenomination cedi dollar ni be gina pepepe no oh it had everything to do with it.
Improve the value of the cedi.
And I'm making say
it did not.
Oh how didn't it improve the denomination of the cedi?
Zeros
it just took away so that's a different argument altogether. No hold on now Obi o share a year in the history of this country you that say a year cedi ahoden a nanka ase no etimi pagya ne mu se ne ya huni it's unprecedented so na uye no so eto nchen a hwe se aban foforo aba fuo ebo hwe ba bia na free at some point in time ko ya ko do be 17 e bi kwa at a point na 23 a Ghana cedis anambo obi diesel yes of course e could do 23 Ghana cedi and atia ba o costa oil star oil and then about 10 point something a Ghana cedi. Never in our history hunu such a year your friend is saying
drop.
Yes, decrease in the isa e bin sisada obi uye no so eto nchen ya obi hwe ye nuano mo a ene wo mo wo your friend is saying secondary school omo ye free SHS hwesika aban no atwa to ho se ode kwakọ free SHS no efi se ye share free SHS yasi aban a eba ya ansa na ye be sika omo de share free SHS mu for a single year no this is the first time a yenya sika botene a ye de ahye mu a ene ama free SHS no so no eye den efa no ntoma pa afra na aye den aye kora behwe uye no so to nchen a hwe nuanom a womokọ universities ya first year si no fee stress ya aban de ayeden e de abai ono so de beso na sen ye no to nchen hwe national apprenticeship program ye nuanom ono so no was one de won peso bi a school no won peso obetua so ebi mu ha so ma wie secondary school bi o ma wie GHS na mo mi dem pese misua adwuma eno so aban apa hontoma sa ye nuanom no aban de o mo ba betu adwuma mu obetuo mutinsa no de omakoto adwuma mu odo muto adwuma mu wi a bosumi bia no bepa bibi kakra de amom no mo de ahye omata so na aboa wo mo mutumi de ayeden e de akọ adwuma na omu wi a aban no ankasa ayeden asset o mo app na ba
no de menye so obeka se bin seed.
Oh, mean car say a bean seed, but we know the numbers. Yeah, so but the numbers, but the numbers, no, yeah, can in the sika ye cha ede abuano. And no na a difference no so I say the patron abote uye no so eto nchen a okomi nua Erica J ho so oh nya abose
no wait I just want to be clear
ya nkasa be ya analysis we nya analysis ma tire odi enti a me ka se wo ho ayefa wo se wo ho nye fe me tire odi enti a ho ayefa
because you okay there
why are you scared
no baby so
Kofi Tonto say na my opposition obi here apprentice ntire me no mo nkasa na ja yemfa wuram na obe de dey nipa hia moa so o ti ase ene na me ne Erica J e kasa and o hwe enema me ne Erica J e de agu akwan mu
Erica J
minia adwuma wura no yes Erica J area ya me ne kasa area ara mo office hwe enema abranteri de agu ayi akwan mu a obi ese wani ensa o ka kire o ma me permission nanka metina ha na niema no ne me kan no nanka ma bie emu a kire and ehona me hunu se eni adwuma wura yi nso no e de adwuma e ba pa obi e de adwuma e ba papa 100 million Ghana cedis. Yes. 100 million for mama.
$10 million.
Asama na okay.
Andrew.
It's for mama. Is that what you are saying?
No, the one who see exaggerate.
Exaggeration and the secret adwuma mienu kura de adwuma ba ana obi meboa. Adwuma mienu kura de adwuma ba. What you say? Uye no so eto nchen a. Ohwe all other sectors ene ministries a. Eniema ye na yaboa ama economy no a na atwitwa agija economy no a na obi na asai na practice apansam no ne ya hwe ne ya maso se ne be ya me no mienu obi ye benya ho faso obi hwe nansi a omotete ye friend say transport fares na meboa ana want obi nansi ubekọ edwam no uhwe social media obohu ema no ya tete so momaje dollar na ba fam ya tete so momaje hwe emoa nanke kan ne ton 120 150 Ghana cedi no ene saamo no ebi no ko market ebi mu ton 50 ebi mu ton ebi mu ton 60 Ghana obi no obi it is the truth obi there is one Mary Shedi na mabachero obi uye no to nche hwe oil obi hwe oil you see and obi say same way oh Kofi obi basa same way hu hiasa wo se meka bacho nyaboche
yes adia
na mi wiye nyaboche obi uti look say same way hu hiasa wo se meka pa obi wahu oh nyaboche Kofi wahu oil
yes
gallon kese no
oil ye nu
aduan obi na me wo your friend is saying some shawarma joint be omo shawarma ne ye can say
socialist
shawarma omo friend is saying chicken wings and fried yams.
Wow
obi number to oil 700 Ghana cedi
gallon
700 Ghana cedi obi ubeje di say sa oil na ne ton 700 Ghana cedi no and the oil no aba 500 Ghana cedis
oil brand
obi no na ntiram se mpese meka ho asem no and no me koto bunso but oba kra ha no ma obi oba kra ha sa same oil na uko bunso 500 Ghana cedi no ana me ton 700 akra ha is almost just 600
palm oil na yawa shawarma nana
No, I think almost they just 565. 565. No, Accra haya. Okwa malata haya.
Palm oil
and then no nam obi.
White oil.
Your friends are before vegetable oil use.
You be obunsu.
Oh no, Tienya make was all tiase. Me say hold on. There be hold on. Until na me say sase me was a mekano. Ye nua no ma mo won kran no. Aye mfa so bum no. Edoso.
Na bonzu vo enya no mbefa.
Until na ye me wanwa no. The same brand obi. The same brander. Because to obunsu 500 Ghana cedi no. Eniama mo tete eniama so no. Because obunsu na 500 Ghana cedi. Battle back high 600 and something Ghana cedis. And no na me dwene ho amenye the main tiase.
Economic logic.
I don't yes. It defies economic logic. Yes. And unti na me say wo se ka ho asem no. Na kire say wo mo mbefa free ha efa card de kono kra no. Aye den atete so.
Transport cost.
Na mo won kran no a more proximity to the your friends port near now still now no more turn about even though so from the previous price but all the compare that of which me turn will bunsu no obi not say bunsu de na yeden far better than Accra de no nti ye besere adwamfo no ye besere enkran ha ye sere mo say bibia ekofem momwa na ne ekofem no yen so aye consumers no yenya ho mfaso so ho obi finally me koto gas na gas no nanka your friend is saying say is it 50 kg or something. It was about I think 300 and something. Obi nansi me ko your mate so 52 Ghana cedis. And also no a benefit to me, a benefit to my yes.
So by 52
yes.
How fellow the anyway?
Oh, be fellow adabaka. Unum Globe Cinema. Adabraka Globe Cinema. Girl office. One girl office one. Sa honum na there's a cinema bi na ho de da. Sa cinema no echi. There's a gas filling station there. 52 cedis. Yes. No, so Bunsu de me call one of the ton and money oil sa kofoni bi. Me koton. No, but when some are moding off the friend is in the station, but my trouble be a day. And will be and yes, me chantro. And you see, when na make na make akusi say, you know, one crime, almost shake. No munye bibi for because obi o bunsu a obefa fin kran e de eye transport to transport kra no e ton 500 adenti na abetran kran ha na wate so kakra bi
me da se kojo e da se Kofi into wetie kojo dankwa ma mentie o se nioma
interesting say kojo dankwa kansas but anyways men chair tie for
amoje so
na men chair for buyer from Pond Colorado Chairman James and so Cincinnati MPP first vice and chairman said Jenfin so Michigan. Me ankasa me chairman Louis Massachusetts. Men chair omunyina na mpanyufo akwa na na se meti so chair akwa me kese acho. Oh. And then the crowd chair.
And the man.
Then yan chair kwa me kese ni.
Golden radio phone na.
Me call Winston so Olubaba shop na me koyi.
Olubaba. The war Anochikro.
Papa, me baba no or friend papa no ana.
I was on with the abonde pa.
Anochikro hono.
Ana.
Na wako you to order.
So
propaganda. The chair omunyina na abusuafo.
Yes.
I mean, these are people that are more contributed to your daily engagement. Ma, you see, Kojo Nkoma Odi in a train, Nensuma Dwen CBB, so ana only on my hand a cano. Obi. To Kojo Onyama na motete so no, ebi akọ airport. Na kohese honso motiswa. Because Obi Mentia se Kumasi to Accra. Say for one of the two airlines. Now no me ko Kumasi bese yine. Obi 4,000 Ghana cedis in and out. Me am shame. Inti mudi un common. In fact, na ye adia panyin bi ne me di ho komo frɛ me say ah Kofi dey na ekosi enti me ti say mo di ho komo no kwa me aye me wanwa menim say wonso to kwan na nsen a
it's me start car actually.
Okay.
It's too expensive.
it's too expensive.
Two. A 30-minute flight? No.
Look, Obi,
30 minutes.
on a good day, Ufri, Massachusetts, Koibia, Washington, D.C., on a good time,
Yes.
between me and be 250. So far, no frills, the Anokrana, which is the low budget one, Nakrana, between me be very cheap. Like Spirit Air, the Frontier, near there. But offer the regular Delta.
Yes.
And United Mona.
Oh, you're looking about 3 hours.
There'll be DC to Massachusetts, they'll be 1 hour 25 minutes.
Maybe you're using the proper
Yeah,
ones.
because Chicago to California, you're almost 3 hours.
Yeah. So Massachusetts, Chicago,
Sure.
Midwest.
Yeah.
But Massachusetts is one end,
Yeah.
California is another
another.
end. So Massachusetts to California can be 6 hours. A flight.
Yeah.
So they said you free Ghana call UK.
UK.
That's how
In one
I
country.
think from there, Maryland to Chicago, I think you use about 2 hours.
Maryland to Chicago can be about an hour 45 minutes or so. So Obi, on a good time, and I make us from Massachusetts to DC.
Yes.
Ube to me and be about 250, 245. Massachusetts to California on a good time 450 in a round trip 600 because like I said
Yes.
Massachusetts to Chicago Nancy me call Massachusetts to Colorado. I mean my point is even dollar denominated economies crano $400 is a lot for a flight.
Yeah.
Na me fa
30 minutes flight.
30 minutes. No cry. You see,
These are hours flights.
passion 33 minutes.
Yes.
Back on the
Africa well.
27 minutes.
No do.
No. So how do you charge 400 United States dollars for round trip? I just don't understand it.
It's too. I don't know who. And I hope no a free market needs so be anti me
You see, Obi.
But it's too much.
You see, Obi, Kojo said be a
government exists to solve some of these problems.
Look, Ghana is overly liberalized.
Yeah.
And you see, and your money be on a car. Now you the politics no room too much. The entire year inflation shoot 2 to 54%. No, it is because of some of these things. The lack of control. Of course, dollar no. In fact, 2022, a dear ma petrol shoot 2 to 17 and it was October 2022. Obia will tell me be a check crude price October 2022. It was $96 to $99 a barrel, and the crude is 66. And Sana, that was the same time you had the most shock on our FX reserves. So we literally had depleted our FX. And on the obekaya that week, dollar ni shoot from I think about 8 to 16 or 14 within bare 4 days. 4 days.
Yeah.
And it drew sir because now your reserves, literally we're almost done. Tia buying your dollar will be beer or they be show up. So these two things and they shoot up prices. Obi, adia chinye na anwa ye ton 700 na do 1,000 something. What is going on? Just ya tunia manimwa busa was what is driving this? But that's because we have an overly liberalized economy. So me sorry. Now as long as I have demand, now me see me din so we beje $100
unless there is competition.
Competition but you see Papa B or the rice market or your interview or pure FM on the Kwame Dinkra. Mushi obi obehwehwe sa interview ni bi obehu. Obeka say in that market they form a cartel. To decide say omo the betum to say oh no enyame na make this interview went viral around that time so obeka ya I'm sure so be you can say interview and was into one only year no catch the group and say that be I didn't know see about 2 crown can 5 beer say nantum but baby I'm what they call minimum yarding. This is an interview to make up as this say competition no crown or my way sometimes you know
cement manufacturers
they come together.
They say
DG say it defeats the point of competition. Now no na me call Ghana ensure we nye way particular ensure ya yeto ebi na me call US me no December there about 20 eshemu dance ne eshemu 24 me pese me bonity eno na auto park na eno na door so eshemu 24 so 26 ensure ni nyina anya ne dodo sa no nko na eye ne sa me to ne be 26 or so obi na no me buy 35 cedis. So at the I just last week here 35 cedis. So we should the rate say dollar ni pejano ho a this is some prices and it's a dollar no air perform here. The rate almost
old stock.
I say obi petrol ada ye bet petrol so no
transport fares
David ada bet petrol so petrol station no chisa aka be 30 seconds and say no mass price by 2 more there no mass no by so there o mu betwe mo na yasia aka be 30 seconds am had the actual sana the on be so mo ye no mai enti you ask yourself say is it attitudinal na do we have
a human nature?
No, is it Kwaju?
No, but with flight cost, it cannot be just human nature. No, I think, sir, government may have to sit down with them.
It's too much.
How many local flights do we
have?
2. So you see, the competition
there is no competition. Sometimes no. Ebi minim how or more the work here, but when you see say interest more. Well, at least you can still bring it down a bit. You still make your returns and but I'm on for
yeah. Nanya Nansiano Mokrabeka say they are extending their operation hours.
Yes.
Who they say I think say around 9 their last flight.
Yes.
It's I think some person more extend their to
the Kumasi route no a day a cover 5 or 6 times ever.
He's just giving you the reason. Monopoly is the reason. Monopoly.
Yeah, but I'm saying say I get the monopoly angle. I'm saying say even if you are sensitive to the way of the people a patronizer wanna are you saying this or what is fan say who Kukumas na 2,000 Ghana na about 1,005 they will not make up with numbers
you need to understand the objective of every firm, every business person and our business entity their primary objective is to maximize profit.
Yes,
what I say
agreed.
It's not for you to tell them say, and you see they look at demand. What I say, if the demand for the service they are rendering is somewhat inelastic, such that if there is a change in price, it does not, in fact it changes consumers' response to the demand for service slightly.
Yes.
And for the price number could be because he knows that at the end of the day some marginal change in price is not going to affect greatly the demand for the service.
Yes.
So see, because of Koina as I know.
There is
fruit plane, not because it's luxurious, it's a question of luxury. Necessity.
Yes.
And there are several things government can do to reduce the monopoly power of these two entities. And like Kofi was saying, collusive actions. In fact, companies form cartels in order to collude and exploit, if you wish, consumers and all that. Because at the end of the day, me and Yunkwan are operating in this space. If we collude, we are fine. But if there is competition, collusion becomes difficult.
Just giving you examples, in areas where there are multiple competition, they still come together
and collude
and still do that.
No, you see, if you have a situation like that, you can have, of course, that is where we have antitrust laws.
Yes,
we enact antitrust laws. But
Kamala policy back.
Exactly. No, antitrust laws, things that don't engender competition, I say you free. But I'm saying specific to these two airlines, it's easy for them to collude. You see, when you have many companies, sometimes it takes extra effort for them to even collude. But say, look, between themselves, look, if the difference between Yanumono and Kitubia passengers, but yen tum namuman tumwa mube what I say, and they are also out there to make profit. So they tell them, look at your margins. Utum krana, at the end of the day, still you make your money. The demand for air
I get your argument on demand. You see, here's the thing. Your argument on demand is valid, but I don't think even flight demand is so inelastic.
It is.
I don't.
It is looking like.
It is looking like. I don't think it is certain. But
it is. You see,
I think what the young fan say it is for the argument's sake. Obi, there are price build-ups into or pricing. The two components for your price build-up, aside from demand, aviation fuel and then the dollar relationship. These are the two build-ups.
Not the only.
Two main.
Yes.
When I say demand and also a factor. Now, I'm telling you.
But you guys have taken away the tax components in the pricing.
In fact,
yes.
They pay taxes.
Is it that you are saying that the taxes have been increased?
No, corporate taxes.
Yeah, I remember.
No, but
domestic tickets.
The domestic ticket.
Yes. It was taken off.
Not until recently, that price is not in Lucy.
That's the point I'm coming to.
The taxes no crowd can does not even arise.
No, I'm just talking about the components of the pricing.
I am coming to say, even in COVID, the most challenging times, Andrew this price.
Andrew
this price.
No, I agree, but I'm saying, sir,
when I think my part is not when. Look, just about 8 months ago or so, in and out. Ubetimianya be 1,009. And no cry, we're trying to last minute. Yeah. Usually 1,004, 1,005. Last minute, it hits 1,009. But from 1,009 in just less than a year to 4,000, almost 100% increment. It's at the time when crude price above 66 and then $66 Brent crude per barrel. And the dollar has shed around 10 cents. Has shed 30% of its value. 30% of its value. 30%.
Airlines.
So how can it be?
Necessity. It's no longer luxury. Until they cannot still be pricing with that.
Why don't you help us in engaging?
I think there is an interview. Yes, you have to interview. They need to give us a reason.
They don't have, they have no reason.
They have no reason to.
These are the
abnormal ethical company. The ethical
now you see, now you are speaking morality.
Yeah, but they have an ethical.
Who said morality is out of business?
An ethical responsibility, please.
What do you mean by they have ethical responsibility? To whom?
To the Ghanaian people, to our customers.
To do what? To reduce prices.
Every company has a degree
set
of
reasonable
ethical.
Who determines reasonability? Look, this is a free market economy.
By just giving you
an example.
The dollar has shed value of 30%.
Pricing
30%.
Because of base fuel, crude.
Aviation fuel, yes.
It is a crude now.
You see, if you are even using crude, you get it wrong. Because when they refine the product, the price is different.
I know.
So, aviation fuel and
base price. Yeah. You cannot take away the base price.
No, I agreed. But I'm telling you, why aren't we buying refined products at the same rate as we buy?
Nobody is saying.
Ghana is a net import. In fact, we don't even refine our products here. We import refined products.
Ghana is a net importer. So, yes.
But it plays.
In fact, you can't net import. And we are even talking in respect of crude refined products here and refined EB.
Atik. But even importing it, Necran plays into argument. But more important, the major factor here, dollar. Now it is down.
Yeah, so what's your point? Okay, can I make my point?
Make your point.
Make my point.
Atik, make the point you want.
You see, these are some of the disadvantages of wishing to have a free market economy. There is nothing like price control.
Yes.
Wouldn't you mean determine for any entity how much Nipano should charge for the service or goods? Right?
Yes.
Now, and Sabu, The airlines are not saying say chinchina mbe free and plain so. It's a matter of choice. And why? You are a rational agent. Until why if I compare traveling on the road, the risks involved, the cost and all that, with the fruit plane I bebwa. And business is like I told you, the objective function of every business enterprise is to maximize profit.
Yes.
What I say. Yes. However they maximize it is up to them. Now, the unfortunate thing for us is we have a monopoly per se. You can say it's a form of duopoly. And that is usually very easy for collusion when you have a duopoly. Now we have a situation that is similar to a collusion. We have no evidence to say they have colluded. But I said there's some type of collusion. And collusions usually happen very effectively in duopolies. So what can we do to stop the duopoly and the collusion between these two entities?
I will say more players to enter.
That is one very important. Government must be. You see, government must incentivize
of Baby Jet Airline.
Okay.
Yeah, but
format. Ashanti
Airline.
Nina among for the Mudi Kachu Cruise.
United Airlines. No international
flight. Okay.
Oh, carry on back Kumasi.
No. Who said last 2 weeks?
Yeah, United. Yeah, international.
Oh, say we have Ghana for Wusika. I'm not talking about online sika for you. Me count for more sika in the real sense.
Oh, for online sika for you.
Government needs to make it attractive for them to want to invest in this area. Look, it's a very lucrative enterprise. The future of travel in this country is by air. Is air travel. Oh, in fact, people who can afford no longer find it fanciful driving from here to Tamale. Kumasi kura omumpena Tamale. Until the one, and you see, ye airports in Kitting airstrips, be a friend airports. Nonetheless, planes to Milan. It tells you say enche bia obi opeso ko wa plane na de beko sunyani the plane na beko ukotakra their plane. But how many airplanes do we have? We have just two companies. Omo airplanes no also. What is here? Yes. So we need to first incentivize people
to get into
that space, because once you have more, then everybody now becomes a price taker. They don't determine the price anymore.
Obi make You see, our demand is not that inelastic.
It is very inelastic.
Ghana see even more than 5 flight companies. They will begin to struggle big time. Now I'll tell you why. You see, your demand for Tamale largely driven by saying non-profit organizations.
What do you mean by
you see, when most people are more far flights apart from a more motono idea back where contribute park to demand NGOs now
they have no idea. Tamale over plane.
No, man.
How many times do they travel to Tamale?
How does it make sense? How does it make sense? Omu busiest route, Accra Kumasi. But it is also ironically the most expensive route. Why?
That is the point I'm making.
No, when you have so many people using the route,
no, you see, in this case, in monopolies, economies of scale doesn't apply. Whereby the more you use it, the lesser the unit cost. It doesn't work. What is here? And that's the point I'm trying to make, sir. And when I tell you, sir, the demand for when you define elasticity in the context of what you assume the situation would be, the ideal situation is, you take every market and deal with the dynamics as you find it. And to say, the aviation market in Ghana, moving from Accra to Kumasi, the demand has moved to the point say if you change the price, the demand will even if it will go down, it will be very minimal.
Yes.
And that is how you define inelasticity. What is here? An inelastic demand.
I think inelastic demand must have some figures in that analysis. I'll give you Tinana example. Shebaby to say Sunyane. Okay. How many times no moko Sunyane? Check it here. Nesha baby to say wa. How many times no moko wa? See Ghana Hanon, the busiest route Kumasi Accra. The next is Tamale. But you see, sir, when it comes to Sunyane takrade cry a reasonable kakra.
You see, say let's say in 3 days, 1 to 4 days ago, no, I'm just asking.
Because Atik,
the demand for it even to work, and also
no, Atik, because of the number of times or
one flight.
It could be no flight.
So you see, when you want to imagine a scenario, you see, no, you are talking about a market. What is here? And the market as we have it today, the dynamics of that market, the demand for flights to war was through. Whether a one flight or whatever it is, the dynamic the demand for it was through. And yes, sir. Kumasi, the demand for it was through. And yes, sir. Everywhere else, the demand for flights was through. What must I say? Because there's a point I wanted to make about government's intervention.
I don't need Kumasi to Tamale.
No.
Kumasi why? But Kumasi is the main major city free settle before they come to Accra. Yeah, I'm saying.
Why do they settle before they come here? No, if I have direct flight, the reason why they use there is because that is the best route. Look, but
I kind of fact now. You are not talking about.
If I can fly direct from Tamale to Accra, why would I want to go through Kumasi?
But we can't. What is now?
Exactly.
That's fine. But I mean, say ultimately, you're diagnosing problem. One suggestion, dear man, is that more players should go into the industry.
Absolutely.
Not competition and driving.
So they all become. Yes. The point I mean, yes, I mean, but I'm saying back to whole point, and he said there's still some degree of work that must be done, because more players will not solve the problem, because more players will rather collapse the industry. Once you have a certain number of airlines, the industry will not thrive. That's the point I'm making to you. So you need another buffer to protect the industry. It is Parliament.
Me too.
You see, when you go to America, last 3 months or so, when you say Congress, it's summoning all the airlines.
Okay.
So even the type of luggages, how more pricey or more luggages, it is not right. So they should stop how they price their luggages.
Okay.
Parliament has every right to protect consumers. Parliament can call airlines and say, look, over the last less than 1 year,
you should jump in.
What is driving it? Say justifiable. No problem.
I think he has.
But Parliament can
all they need to say is because of profit.
No. I think it doesn't work like that. Me so the upper Congress video.
A Congress is not Ghana. You see, if you don't have a law,
what is the most?
Relax.
What is the most?
It's still Parliament.
Yes.
No, but they should invite them and tell them to explain why their prices are this.
Parliament.
And I mean, all they need to tell Parliament is that, well,
I think it doesn't work like that. That is to say, Parliament doesn't have experts who can scrutinize their argument.
Saying they don't need. If they say, okay, profit is the reason, what will Parliament do?
Parliament, now so you see, Parliament, there were various experts there. It is about Parliament. What is the reason for we jump now? You offer explanation.
But there's a private entity.
No, but that's what I'm asking. So if we say, and they are set up to make money. So if they tell me profit is the reason, what will Parliament do?
I pay taxes to the government.
Absolutely, they do what they are supposed to. And they're not forcing you to come and board their planes.
Obi,
a bit nuance.
Because
exactly, it's not that straightforward.
So I'm going to Parliament say yes, you're paying fast. What
will Parliament do then?
And Parliament
make sure say your best practices. Okay, best practices na me cite say the most capitalist nation in the world. Crown holding companies accountable to the extent say they are able to force the companies to make amendments
in the interest of customers.
So we must look at how we get to a point that Parliament can call certain institutions and say, look, Ghana for fast was and Parliament must have the power to do that.
I agree with him.
Yes.
Our Parliament can do more than it is doing.
No, I agree.
The freest of all markets in the world, which is probably the American market, these things happen.
It happens every time.
We cannot be.
America is no longer an ideal example of anything capitalism or democracy.
What are you saying?
The things they tell people not to do are the very things they do. But that's another. But I agree with you when you say that Parliament can play a role. But my issue is Parliament cannot determine for them say, look, price when they say Modiba, now price no was through. And I'm saying what Parliament can do is to probably come up with some legislation of some sort, not necessarily to regulate pricing.
Yes.
However, to give them some parameters within which to do their pricing.
But that's what I'm saying.
Ufa Petroleum, for example.
Yes.
You a guy there, pricing schedule be a MP4, AUC, which guys the OMCs.
Yes.
Maybe Parliament along that line can think about how to do that. But to come and tell them, say, look, my prices no was wrong, and see that. They don't have that power.
I'm not saying.
What can government?
And that is bringing me to my next point. There is BBIFN market failure. A situation like this is one of such, like, monopoly or the semblance of monopoly is one of such. And it is one of the few circumstances in a free market economy that government's intervention in businesses and in issues of production and the rest is allowed. So when you are having market failure, you can invite, government is allowed to intervene to correct the market and all that. And this is one of such. In some situations, government benchmark say, look, we are coming up with some price ceiling is not ideal. But benchmark say, look, if your pricing and your windfall as aviation players, if you get windfall to this magnitude and up to this magnitude, there's going to be windfall tax on it. Which is here.
But that will even compound the problem.
No, you are taxing the windfall. You are not taxing the consumers. And this is here when
they would find a way.
No. Windfall is like unya mfaswa you never anticipated.
Yes.
Already omunya mfaswa. But mfaswa bit me but say exchange rate akọ for me.
Yes.
All the gains from exchange rate, downward trending. Scam more free money. What is here? The price of crude akọ for me. Free is part of their profits. If you get windfall up to a certain point, we are taxing it. So what then will happen is they would have to reduce their prices so that they don't suffer windfall tax. Because if your prices are cheaper, because you are not making so much more money, what am I saying? At the end of the day, 1 year, windfall tax now you be charge you But if you continue making super abnormal profits, because there are some other things that are making you and are allowing you to get windfall now. You must pay part of your windfall as tax to government. And Nunu is one way government can intervene to correct. What is here? If you don't have any windfall, that windfall tax doesn't apply to you. And they'll be like, look, because Abayan has access to their books, they audit their books. And government would know how much profit you made in any particular period. But me tissue in the books, government will know. Because when you are charging, the revenue authorities know how much you are charging. Aviation tax, VAT on aviation, every so because we wanted to make cost of air travel affordable. What is here? Say, see, profit amount.
Yes.
So government can say, look, if this is the situation, we are not going to reintroduce the tax anyway. But if you get a windfall, this is how much tax you should pay to government as windfall tax. It's another way government can correct Ekosiisen. But for me, the best, and it's let's incentivize people to get into the aviation market. Look, we are underrating the demand for air cheaper. You have no idea how many people will be traveling with air.
Yes, that's true.
But according to say this is an elitist arrangement when there are many players, it's just a few people who are using it, there will be more airlines but fewer people to use it. Price no cost eco forma. Me see guy men on more new plane na be now they want to start flying. If it's around 500, 600, guy man na wa no more cantamantui. Say oko Kumasi na 500 cities no be tuya. Uji this anybody would rather want to sit in a bus and over for flight. But once it is a few people and a few entities running the space sikana be kosoro. Enti nipa no di sikana tutu. So my family VIP na menko.
In the for now, until government interventions clearly a medium to long term beba
Yeah.
I was say suffer.
No, there is the only thing is moral suasion like you were suggesting earlier.
Yes.
And also it has no value in law nor in business. What you say? Ubet me And the other thing is boycott.
Yeah.
Say those who use airlines, because of prices, we are going to protest by way of boycotting their services for say a week or 2 days. A day boycott crack can cost them a lot.
Yeah.
And who can force them to revise their prices? Because whether the factors and variables that ensure an increase in price, still are young 2 months every 2 months we 2 months. And it's unreasonable. Kumasi is even more expensive than going to Tamale.
Yes.
Because people go to Kumasi more than they go to Tamale.
Before COVID, no more service snacks.
Say I'm sure Mudima Nukra
COVID into touch you remember do jai snacks.
And it is stayed permanently. They keep,
but the quest for abnormal profits in this country is too much. You see, Kofi Obi, look, no credit say just as Atik was saying. There are a lot of people when you speak to them, even students. There are some of students ebi omufi Kumasi eba Accra eba school omunya yan come for flight.
Simple.
No, because some heard the price variation from with flight and a car is too much, is too wide. In the end, you're here near my main fan and from a car, and I can beat me at to provisions. And a lot of them when you speak to them, right? Onyaya and Konusu be plane ticket to the BI for a plane. No more her cost not debi and
even the pressure on our rules.
Now Obi, she say Obi fi a year Accra, Eko Kumasi, then back to Accra. Now Obi to ya 4,000 Ghana cedis. This is way outrageous. And when people talk about the fact that because I do polling, or mubitimi, I could do whatever they want. Look, the fact say only 2 companies and the operating airlines or hana interest obi and was some tribu no issues of morality must come to play when it comes to these things, because the issue is that baby I drew as a mine so more airlines no send a Kofi kai ye were 2 major factors aviation fuel and a dollar. Where is the dollar now? He said dollar not free, hooping about 15 or 16 to about a year 10. 30% a year decrease. And what it means, they say you people are making more than you used to make. So the best thing is that mobe kushin a year consumers in so kakra. Send your buyer consumers in the say, oh, okay, say dollar year so tiba for me. Yes, you are home for so.
Because time I make I said time dollar ni tea chain na a cost rono. Omu base on the dollar net to
of course. And Obi, I think say you do us a great Anna say over frewom na nyomo edin komo ebisa omo what goes into their pricing and why the determination of omo prices no
conveniently
I just asked Perplexity, which is one of the AI chatbots.
Okay.
So why did Congress investigate airline companies over luggage prices? To say the American. Or say Congress investigated airline companies over luggage prices due to concerns about junk fees that have significantly increased cost for travelers. A Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations conducted a year-long inquiry into ancillary fees charged by 5 major airlines: American Airlines, Delta, United, Frontier, and Spirit. The investigation revealed that these fees, including those for checked and carry-on bags, seat selection, and other services, have led to billions in revenue for airlines, while often being disconnected from actual cost of providing services.
I think our parliament can do more.
I'm telling you, our parliament can do more.
Our parliament can
do more. Our parliament must begin to do
because they can call the executives of those companies.
The emphasis
you
now
come and justify.
The emphasis now the man. Or see, the investigation revealed that these fees, including those for checked and carry-on baggage, seat selection, and other services have led to billions in revenues for airlines, while often disconnected from the actual cost of providing the services.
Because if
What does that mean
between
exactly?
in
What
one
it
year,
means is that the actual cost of operation, it doesn't justify the money they are making. That's what it's saying.
Because mostly how they can say, oh, your cost of production is
Yes.
they also reflecting in price.
Yes.
But if say Parliament who said there is no connection, there is a disconnection.
Yes.
Parliament should question.
So what did Congress do?
Oh, I can go on, but I can go
Yeah.
on. But I can go on.
No,
But, maybe.
because it's not illegal.
No. It's not illegal.
To
But
make
see,
more money
It
as a
is
business
unethical.
entity.
It's unethical.
This is
So
what
what
I'm
Congress-
saying. It is unethical.
So
You
see,
cannot also
I think I remember.
Business by its nature is
I think
unethical.
Atik, maybe.
No, that's what it is. If you want to go by ethics,
that's
open
why
any
there are
business.
checks and balances.
Atik. Then
From
what's
where?
the point of antitrust laws?
That
That's
is
the
what
point of antitrust
It's
laws.
to ensure that there's competition. That's what antitrust laws
But
do.
if is that not an ethical issue it is
But
trying to
Atik,
solve?
I think
Mr.
in
Business
all,
by
in
its-
all honesty,
Business by nature is
in
unethical.
all honesty,
Oh,
if we all agree,
is
if
unethical.
we all agree, says here,
I agree that the prices are high, but me, my issue is
flight inelastic now. Our parliament should step in because you cannot justify 100% increment in price within a year. It is not possible.
the inelastic demand is what is justifying that.
Please.
Oh, how? How is
You-
that? You see, Obi, so the last point I'm making is
And are you then saying, say, all the other inelastic products on the market
should all do
I was
that.
say jumping 100.
That-
That's what they are. That's what.
No, but
That's
then
why they are called
inflation-
inelastic goods.
Inflation will go
I mean,
high,
inelastic demanded goods.
and the government will be blamed
Because
for it.
whenever there is a change in the price, the demand, the quantity that is demanded
the
doesn't change
reality
much.
in our country now, no, which other inelastic good? And over the last 1 year, any 100% increment in price. Which other one? Which other inelastic good?
You see,
Which other
I
inelastic
haven't done a
good?
survey to know.
There is none.
How would you? How would
There's
you know?
none.
How would you know? Oh,
There is none. 100%.
It's outrageous.
Charlie,
It is.
too much.
as for outrage, you need the come back.
Parliament
My issue is how is Parliament calling them to order? How?
Any order, call them and question them.
Oh,
The
okay.
committees in Parliament exist for a reason.
No, of course.
They don't have to peruse bills.
The transport subcommittee can invite them, question them.
Atik me
To what end?
Atik me ba. Unim say me share sa adewe hearing we this particular hearing I
Yes.
watched it.
Yes.
On my free time there's one senator in Louisiana, Senator Kennedy. He's my favorite senator.
Yes.
Because obet na ho the way obet grillo no. So I on my free time I watch Senate hearings. You know, the executives agreed say ade na omo ye no. They've been sort of
Yes.
blow cover no? And they consider said they will do something about it. So my point is, even as a deterrent, near the
Yes.
executives of these companies
Abet
abet
na
na
Parliament anim.
na Ghana for
Live on
share
TV.
hearing na em making sense no. I'm telling you,
guys are
I think
interesting, no?
I'm telling you, they have made changes. A lot of the companies are making changes.
Once is not illegal.
Oh, and I made sure
What you
say
say?
it's not
Unethical.
about the illegality.
it's
Don't look at
unethical.
it like that. I am telling you,
which
sir.
profit is
But you know,
ethical?
so for
Which
business,
profit making
for
is
business
ethical?
reputation, anything unethical ever attached to your brand, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
And that's why they react.
It is not a problem for these ones because they are a duopoly. What I
They
say?
have to make it a problem for them.
That's the point. Now I think
If you make it a problem for them, no one will run now.
Obi,
Ube fruit pass now.
my last comment.
By-
If say somebody can,
Yes.
my President Mahama, Enfana non to asim
And a public
national
statement.
conversation.
No, that one-
Something will
they
not
will do
change. That.
something about it.
Something will change.
Name a public
What are you
discussion.
saying?
It is too
And now
much.
they are parliament in from. Never say they won't do something.
When
about
they
it.
know say somebody is watching, it's too much.
They will change.
What are we talking about? MPs no more free plane.
But that's why we are calling the
No, don't they know?
Hearing is different from a hearing.
maybe they underrate the power they have.
Yes.
We have to remind
You
them.
think MPs are more honor, knowing the powers they
Because
have?
they don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they underrate their power.
That's precisely the point I'm trying to make. That they don't know the power we have,
We need
you
that
know,
culture
given
in
to
this
them.
country where MPs,
because
MPs
that
will
is
call
what has
companies
trickled
Let's go to
over
the
there.
other topics.
And now trickle down and obi wa akra say or ton old stock into every factor chese was so 10 year maso
so?
boom. What kind of attitude is that? Because the state seems a free market.
Market.
To
Obi aye ni ope.
no, it
But
cannot
that's
be.
what.
It cannot
You
be.
see, there's unpredictability about your exchange rate. And they are call for me. What's the way to have man also?
It ya call for mama yin who say call for.
Na den tin na
man
enya so na mama so.
Na mtimi ba otiso. Yamva zo old stock watiso.
Yes.
Before the next import cycle no. Now dollar na man also. When ever boka. When ever boka. Say old stock yamva zo dollar call for me. Ono 2 kwan ye. Old stock na no ton. Musi on tiso.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what to another $15 no. What is another $15? Musi on tiso. Already waboka no. Fanny said the next, because of the unpredictability of the dollar, no, I mean of the cedi, the next import window, no, I didn't say man who so. Meanwhile, what is soon our tongue? Officer or quite a bit man, no man auto na. Sometimes there are some dynamics or nuances here.
A boss of Teteno, TAC Traders Advocacy Group Ghana.
Hey, Madam
President, does it? Obi, please, will stay in your aviation matters. Imagine your man is sort of Oboswa a problem. You know this whole stock.
We must
no, if the dollar stays like this for like a quarter, now they have no reason not to.
They have no reason not to. Yeah.
At least it would have shown some stability over a reasonable period.
Obi, attitude is wrong. Biden's administration was able to force pharmaceutical companies to bring down prices. They forced airlines to reimburse passengers when flights get cancelled. And you know, say, that thing is not even there.
You cancel flight in Moscow.
Jesus Christ.
Domestic flights.
No, what they do, they say they
another
airline here be as and agree the end ya canceller
I don't want to go again.
How?
They put you on another
me what business is here no cry no. So cancel flights na obi. And no cry means that, for instance, if I say more business be a transact to Kumasi. Business na millions of Ghana cedis. Not because of negligence in Tino. Man to me and transact me business. What say man to me and transact no. Sika be to you for flight a ticket no. And also some
another flight. So
I mean how? What time? Make what then? The business near 5 p.m. and then man to me and go 5 p.m. no. What's the man call money for tina?
Now omo be announcement cross say a cancel flight na. Just the impudence. We are sorry to inform you because of the weather condition the flight is cancelled. You can go to the front desk and make alternative area assign no.
So Obi, Madam for be
whatever you do with yourself
but that's bad. Monopoly no.
Madam for be ama suggestion.
Yes.
So he is saying say Madam for Prince Mr. Mami Radio say both yourself and Atik should research a bit more. Ghana does not follow the principle of parliamentary sovereignty in the same way as the UK. Instead, it follows the model of constitutional supremacy. Ghana Parliament cannot intervene in markets. Atik is wrong because we do not need to wait for market failures. We can implement competition law and have a competition and markets agency which intervenes in cases of monopolistic markets.
That's the point I was making, that these are a duopoly. What is it? Because they collude. No, the person is
but the premise
is wrong.
How do you
anyways, the point me Prince Enyadwin say even if Yemra no cry enchre we are calling for say a constitutional amendments. We are in that process.
Yes.
So we must now consider these things to protect. In fact, Nyame Adoma offer HK Prempe. Nano obehu me boss for the constitutional review. Intima reach out to him. Says we know if it is not covered extensively in our constitution, the amendments should give Parliament powers to investigate markets.
But Madam for Kofi or a pilot with one of the two.
Okay, that's good. Airlines. On my education.
And the aviation in commerce hi Obi. Do you know how much an aircraft engine costs for do you know how much an aircraft engine costs? And what for one of the airlines $800,000 to $1 million each. You have no idea the operating cost of airlines. Let's meet one day.
Obi,
Obi
pilot.
They were not meeting the operation cost.
The pilot nature me say.
Yes.
Last year na engineer 400,000 and say about 800,000 and answer saying. The point is to say the article can within that 1 year now my year over 100% increment, you know. That's why parliament is necessary. Then parliament will ask you, say, what justifies you? There's also operational cost, now cost. Give us the evidence.
Even dollar, okay. You say dollar no to see the no. You say, Osha,
at least for the last 3
so send out on $1 million now here. Say 5 million Ghana cedis. Now you don't need that 5 million Ghana cedis. You need less of 5 million Ghana cedis.
Pilot, okay.
Who say or type into the additional way about let's
but all respect to him though.
I mean,
I like when express
all respect
intervene.
Not to undermine what he's saying.
As Obi just said,
yeah, that's it. Ekosiisen saying
eating a
higher SEM part 94.7. Yes.
To fruit
no, he on
you see
his own way.
This is
on one toy.
Mr. Tiba Asempana Mumbai. This is
Obi, please ask your friend the pilot, do they buy an engine every week?
That's a good one. Because engine I woman
propellers no but propeller.
One of the airlines old aircraft from Dubai.
Obi, not only reimbursement, if in transit the airlines have to provide accommodation for you. If you decide not to accept an alternative arrangement, you have to be reimbursed in cash and not with a voucher. In the way
but that's Ghana laws. That's Ghana law.
No,
see like the ideal
situation, or my ideal situation. No, the challenge, as he's saying, is everyone say, "Ebia wo free abroche ababi drew kakra o to aswa ko Kumasi uni mobia wa ha." When your flight is cancelled,
they should give you
accommodation.
But when the Chrome, we don't have consumer protection. Entities are what the manual seminar didn't go here. What you say? Otherwise, the idea was good. What you say? What the manual seminar didn't go here. We need to have like people in civil society taking up issues of consumer rights. Yeah, it's very very important.
0548 443 523. Lot of messages on this topic. 0548 443 523. Odo messages bar. Where's Obi? Please tell Atik we are not in the economics classroom. Theories no edoso. Nana ofori ewo papase ena ediwe aba. Obi, over here in the States, prices are not free as the other panelists want us to believe. I bet you even our rent is regulated by council and state legislators. Before any increments are made, there must be approval from either state legislators or council board. Our phone companies, etc., are all checked equal for the benefit of the citizens. I bought a flight ticket, Delta, from Newark to Atlanta 3 weeks before my departure for $87 from government, the Bronx. Okay, from government, the Bronx. As Kofi Tonto said, he paid $400 from Accra to Kumasi, giving the exchange rate of 10 cedis to $1. Wow. Ain't he? Ono from Newark to Atlanta, meaning how long that journey is, about $87. That's way cheaper. Where's the Obi? In Russia, a ticket for a flight from Moscow to Rostov on Don Airline, a distance of 1,100 kilometers, cost $100. Well, a distance of 1,100 kilometers, $100. Nana ewo ya refa ne di odi abadono. The market for local flight is too small to have many companies operating in it. Any attempt to establish more companies to operate will lead to a collapse of the industry. Large countries like Russia or US of A can afford to have more local flight companies. Even then, there is always a board that regulates their operations, including airfares and ticket prices. Nana again in Oyarefa. Obi, this airline situation could easily be resolved by introducing our national air carrier into the space, restricting it to internal flight for the short term before scaling it up. I think is that possible? Say a national airline to run local. I think we should do that before scaling it up to an international way.
Inefficiencies with government.
Ghana, how?
Yes.
You can't someone. Obi nim home matching, not internet so.
Yes.
Me can go for muchato online, go for some muchato.
Say.
And rule 4,000.
Said it didn't.
Air ticket.
Yeah.
I never know him to go.
We are saying 4,474.
Last week
4,474.
It was 2,000.
I will do 4,000.
I mean, just a woman who won't just say, I saw mine. I won't share. Nipan on him, no, 4,000, 4,474.
No, that's outrageous. Let me pay it's way outrageous.
Depending on time, I'll be channel over 2,000. Obi say Obi, if government can force drivers to reduce their transport fares, then they can do same with the airlines.
They don't force them; they negotiate with them.
So why don't we negotiate with the airlines?
Well, that is if
we can play a role, oversight role.
Yes.
Look, Madam Fobako Krami Refi, I Wells Fargo, so Obia on Google Senate Wells Fargo hearings, misconduct of Wells Fargo. Senate investigated them. Over door checks, over certain. In fact, there was
now the whole banking sector collapsed. The Senate investigated.
Yes, there was one a year.
I slash down CEOs. Benefit
there was one particular instance. Not late. So what BB?
Yes.
Now what time? No, advance the amount 15th August.
Yes.
Maybe a call 20th August. The way are banks in charging late fees, and overdraft charges. Senate investigated it. So look, the way I'm treating Americans, this is not right.
Our parliament can do more. They just have to tone down on the partisanship in the house.
Yes, when it comes to
and
those
focus on the most critical things. We say, Obi, a solution to these high airfares is the introduction of bigger aircraft for domestic flight. Kobina Wonje Ewo Tema.
What's this an introduction?
No, it makes
bigger aircraft
for domestic flights.
For domestic flights.
Because the fear say Enyamano would force them to reduce the prices. Is also another suggestion.
Good way.
I think it's good to start the conversation.
Very, very important. We say, Obi, the most surprising aspect of our contemporary politics is that our brothers in the NDC are familiar only with low-cost commodity stores and stores. Yet they struggle to share the exact location. Why do they use a cheat? Or say, why do they use a cheat or have a special identification? Maybe I have to start shouting separate to also enjoy these discount prices. But tell him, the ball of Etzel is still 5 cities, and Fante Kenke is also 5 Ghana cedis. Charlie. Kwekunowa, village secretary.
So will be a whole research, 122 pages on ethical business in Ghana.
Yes.
And Obi send
yes. Good afternoon, Obi. Fuel has been reduced, but it seems it's not touching the citizens down there. What the man in the studio is saying about the airfares is very true. It's like no one controls them. One day we would wake up and it would be 10,000 Ghana cedis one way, and no one would intervene for us. Francis Ewotema. Quite a number of messages on this topic.
No, it's a topic. It's a sensitive issue.
A movie on there. Other issues. Obi, I work for a major airline in the United States, and I've been working with them for 29 years. I can tell you our consumer protection in Ghana is weak, and Parliament needs to do something. Nigeria really protects its citizens, and this narrative from Nigeria, Ebasa, Fred, was South Riding, Virginia, and Odiwe, but Fred, let's come back. Again, more messages about on this topic. Men who said doors, but there were other issues to touch on. And we'll deal with them, and then we'll continue with the show. Yeah, in discussion segment, the Franco trading eka the Franco reduction sales no abba and the omatiti omonioma so bibia ubenya to ewo Franco biano from phones, Nokia, Samsung, iPhones, smart TVs, Franco air conditioned chest freezers, washing machines, microwave microwave blenders, generator na operator, and a CCTV cameras. Nina or matitebo so papa. Visit any of their branches. Ubetima order on Nioma using the Franco Trading app and as a one website francotrading.com. Now why enjoy from this discount? Frewon was 0246 422 338 na onso ne won enkasa tabia herbal nso se malaria dro paade tabia ope dro nso a for male vitality bema ema ugina so kama eno nso ye tabia takum. It's made with no alcohol honey and the 100% organic. Ye wo the tabia zone care eno ye immune booster ema ugina on nice na immune system no ejina so etime kotia nyarewa nyinara ena tabia herbal capsule in so air for constipation frewon so open no yimu bia to 0243 686861 0243 686861 na one won enkasa company bia bagana ha omono adwum omoye ne se opese wo transport goods from one location to the other o Accra opese wo de nioma fi Accra ko Tamale opese wo de nioma fi Accra ko Kumase omo be transport goods no nyina ede amount to any part of the country so they call Takrade or they call Axim or they call Elubo omo de be call amount na within Ghana nkwa even outside Ghana mo mpese mo transport goods from Ghana to Togo to Benin to Burkina Faso. Look no further. Felisco San Ghana Limited at the Newmanebeko amount. They would handle your import, your export, and general supplies with speed and efficiency. Ain't Cesarian and Wadrinjia ene what denne Felisco San Ghana Limited. Frewon Omo Tema Community 8. Efua Pokua, that's Efua Pokua House, close to Vienna City Hotel Watema. Frewon was 0248 238 541 0248 238 541 na onioma no omon fanko emma Kofi Tonto mo issue with a buying decision to slap 1 Ghana cedi on every liter of fuel
na buy na ti ha obi na almost buy na man nchire di nti omo yesa
ono owe first one was started
that's what chire me di nti omo yesa
so mo start ya man
kasa ne yenko adan mun issues with it
obi
yes
you see the first thing is you embracing because I same way there Simedu de minti minkas.
Say it's an adult.
It's a cry.
touch the river
Because you see, Obi,
Obi, me papa ba mama.
Obi, what is necessary? Yes. Say, you be ma Ghana for who be a problem, a free ba.
Asempetia.
Okay. Enya asempe bia na yeti. Asempe pa bi wo ha ewa.
Asempetia. Is a dose.
Asempe pa bi wo
ha.
We
ma obi ma we 1 minute.
Now
one thing you say. This is here eja da uche one thing free. What free what? Ba yentie no.
Obi. And I know ye wo ho.
Yes.
And aban yi ene ne mra hye bidwafo 160 something. You see, idea is see now no natural say ye kotoa bana ye ma one side overwhelming. One of the dangers is the rubber stamp nature of how parliament can be. Now no ye wo ho and a ban and then mra hye bidwafo omo ba se owifo a mo be wie kum no ma hye no ma say. They came like thieves in the night. And no more the bill a buy say you see amend the Exla Act. Na ye de 1 cedi to every liter of fuel. So Samre no na ye ra ato forcing aka kire ye say emra call vetting we say wono
Asempa FM
Ghana yensika sam no wasua nyamu nimde se ehun hia se ye de eto ebeto Ghana for so ansa na yensika obi meboa
yes
na wono de owo hu nimde ne kwan a obetimi afa so ame yenya sika yemfa to ento Ghana for so yira to forcing emro moye economic forum wɔse Ghana yenyina mo ahoɔden ne mu ka ne mu haw no the inefficiencies in it no enye Ghana fo na ese de saa haw no yeden eto wo so we asɛm a enipa ono na hwɛ Ghana esikasɛm so nyina ɔkae fe na no or the act ne baya na asɛm a wɔka ne sɛ ohia de sika de asiesie ɔman ne yenyina ma ahoɔden ye energy sector no ohia sika odi besiesie President Mahama so de beto so say sika no ye hia de ye de ebeto fanwo na yetimi de ama nyina mahoden no agina so na yato fanwo na ye ho ahenhan ya wie no de aka no ye de akokoka na ewo ho no we kan we no ba ye musa ye say e kan he ne free buy nano Yewura Mahama mra no ye omampanyin no aye ko dum so mu ne sa o haw ne nyina ana Yewura Mahama so obeso ano it was signing bibi a friend power purchase agreement. Now power purchase agreement a Yewura Mahama sin sign ye no e di bibi buy a friend no excess capacity o haw ne na mechiro mu no excess capacity ne say obi yeti he e bia ye hia generators be mienu na mo de support madwuma na obi ama akwanya se kodi hu dwuma oba ya generators mienu no akoto generators enum na wotoye no agreement a wokoye ne se ubeyisu enum no anase wunyusu num no ubetua hoka enti se generator ne si ho se ye adwuma enya adwuma Ghana ban betua hoka dedi kan de etoso mienu Ghana ban fan wo a yesa de begu generator ne mu no Ghana ban ebesa afa fan wo ne hoka. So apart from the fact say excess capacity a na ye hia no bebre ne pempen so no ye besa abɔ ho ka sa top fuel light crude or gas o se sen ye besa Ghana ban besa yeden afa ho ka eno ni ade ba ko a edi kan a edi sa wo hayi e bai na obi wo kai emre bi me send o article bi so be kai a article no was written by OBS and I'm rushing through my thoughts. Article no was written by me 1 second now. Where is the article? 1 second, Obi. Article ne title. Now Obi my main king kakra. Okay. Or say how commercial power companies are wreaking havoc in developing countries. Independent power producers, IPPs, have become synonymous with trouble for close to 1 billion people in low and middle income countries. Written by Saad Hassan. My main king was see in the 1990s, the World Bank started pushing for liberalization of energy markets. The communist Soviet Union had just collapsed, and the belief that governments had no job running businesses was gaining steam around the globe, making it easier for World Bank to convince many countries to hand over electricity production to private companies. 30 years since the privatization trend, that experiment has turned into a nightmare of inflated emphasis. A nightmare of inflated and seemingly insurmountable bills for close to 1 billion people in developing and low-income countries, including Bangladesh, Ghana, the Gambia, Philippines, etc. Despite abundant power plants in these countries, tens of millions of people have come to endure blackouts every day. Since governments don't have the money to buy expensive electricity, they often borrow from banks to make payments, plunging their already heavily indebted population further into debt. Private electricity generators, known as independent power producers, are now facing pushbacks from the public, politicians, activists, etc., etc., etc. And also, now, bahano asimo kainini. Or say one of the most blatant abuses of IPP projects recently played out in the West African country of Ghana. In fact, in this whole article, Hassan Etroyen,
yes,
there is only one president, President John Dramani Mahama, and Obonidin, for this highly inflated IPP agreement. That is the genesis of your troubles. Of course, about energy inefficiencies, to say transmission cost, transmission losses,
yes,
and other abedru efie more we bi ni ade ni nyina ho. But largely into ESRP and the World Bank here report no mo here no mo project say Ghana by 2025 sa o how year yakofa to ye ho so no ebenyinia kodru 12.5 billion United States dollars. But at the time Ayura Mahama na o free abemo no e ka na da yechi e 2.5 billion United States dollars because of all of these things. MPP are buying. Of course, Ayura Mahama put together the ESLA Act and now no one Ben Church with the various components of the ESLA Act. And I buy here ESLA PLC na se chire nyina say me pesika puduo bi e de akotua me ho aka na de menya ye statutory payment no na betwia me kakran. That's all. Already my joy online story omo ye yen so a omo jitu mu say in fact in 2018-2019 abani tria $1 billion of payment through ESLA money to defray some of these costs.
Which year?
I think 2018 or so. I'll find the exact year for you. So now there is this lie. Say ESLA Sikano yemfa nyehwe. Obi uko ESLA PLC on my website and now call Ministry of Finance audited accounts. In fact, me were 2018 accounts.
But they've had so far 9 reports. Annual reports they produce them.
That's the point I'm making. So, which annual reports state the
that claim it's just propaganda.
Of course,
you know our politics.
Of course,
and the people who were making side, I was surprised.
Yes,
one of them,
propaganda.
Professor Azan,
Professor Kwekwa
Azan,
sorry.
Yeah. He was one of the ones
saying
made
that argument as
yes, well. Look, the increment is not the issue, but the issue of accountability. As if there are no reports, on how the things are collected.
But Obi, the question is that ESLA, what was the purpose?
It was a special purpose vehicle.
SPV.
ESLA was supposed to fight the energy
consolidate the levies in the energy sector
and
to manage what?
Yes,
good.
Fight the energy sector.
And did you commit the entire amount of money that was accrued?
You can go and read the report.
They didn't use all.
Go and read the report.
Actually, retentions are very minimal. Sometimes retentions don't also.
All the receipts and air core into payment.
Collections are different from lodgement.
It's for infrastructure. Yes, energy infrastructure. Because you see,
when you read the
that's true. There's various accounts. For tying the legacy debt.
The entire Ebiko infrastructure, and say part of the debt. Infrastructure challenges like
system losses,
they
wanted to invest
and all of
that. Losses.
But it is a lie, and let me put it on record. Anybody who sits anywhere and says, "Yamfa ESLA money and get the it's a complete lie." Can you imagine?
The only issue I had was when they started selling ESLA bonds, but of course later they evacuated those bonds.
Yes.
They bought back the bonds.
Me blame NDC for me blame. Because you see, when Sami Jamfi was the first person who started this ESLA argument, say, yeah, the ESLA Sika. I remember that very well. Sami started it.
Yes.
But for over 3-4 years, we allowed Sami to say the same thing over and over and over. Meanwhile, the reports were there.
Submitting reports to Parliament.
When you were submitting reports to Parliament.
I think the idea of selling bonds,
parliamentarians will rather come out and say it's Kadoma.
What the
hell is that time?
So, it was a million thing I'm born tough. But the bottom line is World Bank. In fact, more interview World Bank. The last president now, I think Laporte or country representative, Laporte or Rapport, something. Or see, Ghana. one of the terrible decisions I'm taking was those power purchase agreements now mo sign here. And what can so say sir oil now mo say mo besa to fuel e dey fuel at the no na kofa or how we nyina ye den e dey abrem.
By no so no, it was a difficult decision to take because you've signed power purchase agreements with IPPs. If you tell them to find a more fuel to power, they may hold you to ransom. Because I can't say me fuel. And I mean, and mind you, the ones I was a plant, you are paying.
But I don't agree to.
Me so read the article.
Yes.
It's Obia. What should I over emerging countries?
I know.
So he goes into this issue.
Yeah, I've read this article.
No, I agree with the idea. So why should we be buying for
yes.
for
but Obi, what the article you find say granted say Esieto. And then Yera Mahama buying pretend they say you didn't sign this terrible agreement. Why do you pretend? Why do you lie to the people? Say we will buy na Kufuado ejauka. Me problem no. What do you can say bia mijaka? And you know another lie. They created the impression say that 2.5 billion a stagnant figure, and it doesn't change.
No,
it's a lie.
I didn't 2.5.
The legacy debt at the time Mahama was leaving power
was 2.5.
Let's just say, but like, why is it called legacy?
Yes,
it means 50.
And you see, the lie they created was that as if the 2.5 no, the final cost. Meanwhile, with power purchase agreement I was every year BNN said this $660 million and sign our top fuel. Now catch them in their lies again. A dear Sam President Mahama Khan was see Ghana for Sikana Yabe Jimono. Yade koto fuel, yade be fuel machines no. So you see, President Mahama decision now will take about 2015 to now, how many years? 9 years ago, no. And no na wutia ho kan ne. President Mahama nananum to was say we need the money to go and buy fuel to power the generators. So your decision 9 years ago, it is what Ghanaians are bearing the consequences today. But at least be honest. At least tell Ghanaians the truth. But you pretend say Kufuado and what say sector no. And I know me kind. Me see John Jinapor, the most talkative minister I've ever come across. Who can say I swear Mahama in Unimadia John Jinapor ye. See, that was when he set up Ghanaians. Or catch say they are can create rules 1 week or say na they were setting our minds up. Say dear air Benny. Dear air Benny me John Quatin used to tease John Jinapor say John petrol now fuel now person kotono and who can now painting now okay can they can. That time people thought George is not an economist. But George quite in a dental crown economist saw through. Say adia moki can sika bia mo pesa mo gine enra I china ana da chinti na moki kasa ansem no. And truly to it, President Mahama has admitted say sika na ye gimono. Now there is no sunset clause.
There is no sunset clause. There is no special account those monies are going into. And those are the two issues with this. Because then, if it's going back into the consolidated funder, then
the ESLA funds have designated accounts, dedicated accounts.
I know. But I want to say,
it's a special, there should be an account for it.
Me contention. I name a person Ghana for mutie mi wo wiase nyina all the millions of people to understand and they say ye jina baby ye jina no not because of Ekufuado. I have every reason to blame Ekufuado for any idea wo ye ya enyem, and I have done it here. I have criticized Ekufuado here. But let the record show. So on this energy sector debt asamwa ye kano, the facts support say Yera Mahama your decisions in 2015 and na ya fight ya bedru na Ekufuado mpodie World Bank actually say e can bedru 12.5 billion. Now Ekufuado etimia so e kan mu ama na dru 3 billion
3.1 billion
3.1 billion
from 2.5
yes.
to 3.1. That should be an additional of
600.
That's fair.
Now we keep lighting on what top petrol we keep generators we yeni nyina wo wi a wa beka kire sa nipa no so no ye nipa bonini. How fair is that? How fair is that? That is my contention. So you don't criminally criminally manage the energy sector and have the effrontery and have the guts to sit on radio and TV and blame somebody else. Yura Mahama, you are a fine gentleman, but on this call you goofed and goofed badly since 2015. Own up to your mess. Now lastly, me mouth some numbers. Obi and the VIP. Me friend, me of Adakabre, and I'm in the din komo. In fact, we were debating on radio. Of Adakabre say VIP takes 222 liters per trip. A trip is Kumasi to Accra. 223. Now every VIP be about 3 trips a week. This is live debate on air. So for VIP, no, that's 220. For 220 liters, that's 220 CDs. Every trip biano, as we Ghana buying. You multiply 220 by 3 for the week for one VIP bus, that's 660. You multiply it by 4, that's 2,600 Ghana cedis, 2,640 Ghana cedis every month. Obi, for that number, no, multiply 12. Okay? Ubi yama me misro for that 2,640 no maybe 2,640 no times 12 are saying
maybe into 2,640
yeah
times 12 that should be 31,000
now 31,000 yes assuming say VIP 200 buses times it by 200 assuming so more 200 buses.
That's 6,336,000.
So VIP in Kwabetria 6 million saying
336,000.
6.3 million.
More than 70 minutes.
Forget about
6.3 million. And a one company. Me pacho. Let me talk. 6.3 million Ghana cedis.
20 minutes.
And a one company say over 200 buses per. But I know their buses are more than 200. That company alone. Me yes, our calculation with the man Uber no. Uber will pay 1,080 cedis every month. 1,080 cedis every month. Me yeah the man tro be 1,740 Ghana cedis every month.
Every month. Very well.
So you people are the ones who criminally manage our energy sector. You don't have any right to come and make noise to Ghanaians.
And you're telling can Ekosiisen Suni Kojo Dankwa Munya Abutre Munya. Okay. Atik me ntiewe bansa na atik bebem no Kale charcoal toothpaste toothpaste and a Ghana ni bia use bidie woman nti bidie natural absorptive properties etimi eti wanum bacteria free wanum eye nneoma bebree fresh breath all day long the bidie etimi and where the bidie na aye Kale charcoal toothpaste under very strict hygienic conditions, FDA agiatum and who say bibia kama inti oye penny oye akola 6 years and above ubetimi subi Samara Company Limited ena aye inti bomodin na unsu pebi omo number 0246 864 798 Kale charcoal toothpaste happy smile omo ya de papa. And if you are looking for quality premium and affordable generator set, water pumps, mowers, and many more. Me pacho mamen kamfo S-less enterprise amount. We sell brands like Cummins, Perkins, Caterpillar, Honda Genset, Papa, and bigger and smaller plants suitable for hotels, say a guest house, a school, restaurant, and for everyone. Ope Genset, correct pa. Open water pumps, open mower, or the bed door lawns so kama me pacho S-less enterprise and the come for the amount. Ye wo 500 watts solar generator, which is soundproof. We no enye de and a use fuel to operate. Yes, sign a free installations and a deliveries within Accra. Yes, sign with solar panels for homes and offices a year ton. And rubet me a yusu during light out. Kama pa. Yawo Ajregano Bridge near 69 American House, a Champon Junction, Bawaleshi, Newtown Junction, Ashaliboche, Social Welfare, Madina, Adenta Rate Junction, Ehonyano, Ubehuya in branches, Ewo Fre 0248 169 258 0248 169 258. Na unsunya ye nioma ye toni bi na eto kama na bibia enkoye atik meteo
It does you be Yedi kind. Look, levies, they generally, let me make this point. Taxes and levies, they will be in Niwa Opesutia. But of course, you to say they are necessary. But then you levy be and say, you two or month for no so. As I say, some of them are just simply put unconscionable. I don't know, Mikasa, and Amikasa. Esla Edibai, and from the way Esla buy, it was supposed to be a special purpose vehicle to consolidate all the levies in the energy sector. Send a Bayer, we can retire the legacy debt and be able to build the needed infrastructure. What I say in the sector. I say in IT, I say Esla has gone through 3 amendments before our recent one. What I say? Yes. We started in 2017, 2019, 2021. In fact, the 2017 one saw a downward, you can say, revision of some of the components. What I say? For example, the public lighting levy. Yet the society we shared the original action. It was supposed to be 5% of kilowatt per hour price,
Yes.
Yet TISU from 5% to 3%.
Yes.
What national electrification?
National electrification 2%.
Exactly.
Yes.
And there is not. It is not only the case there. Tutum, but in fact we have actually reduced it before. What is here? 2021, because of capacity charges, we had to introduce some new components. And look at the figures. They were innocuous. So Ghana we didn't feel the pain.
Yes. But I've even made the point that when you take all the taxes, levies, and even margins on price build up on a liter of fuel, the incremental raise over 8-year period, accumulatively, 50%.
Yes, it was from 20 and 2021 year revision, it came to 50 pesos.
50 pesos.
Now, for 8 years, ESLA came, if I was signed in December 2015, so it started taking effect in 2016. Until NDC got the chance to implement only for 1 year. Until for the 8 out of the 9 years now, ESLA has been in existence, MPP na manage here. But when we say na you can wasem, the only time I had issues with it was when we decided to securitize the ESLA receipts. That was when I had it. And Abenusu later I realized this was a bad idea. So they bought back all the bonds. What is here? And the nearby ESLA honina ESLA sika. Now, we share memorandum now that was attached to the bill.
Yes.
It is inherently inconsistent and incoherent. Look at read the second paragraph. No, not the second paragraph. The first I think. Read the first paragraph. What does it? It tells you that the object of the bill is to amend the Energy Sector Levies Act 2025 Act 1135
and increase the rate of the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy.
The object is what I want you to come to in order to
raise additional revenue to support the payment of energy sector shortfalls, reduce energy sector legacy debt.
Say that again.
Reduce energy sector legacy debt and stabilize power supply.
Very good. Go to, you can say, I think last but 5 paragraph.
Okay. So that should be where the power sector risks imminent. Is that place? Or
no, the third but last. The levy will serve as a dedicated source of funding.
The levy will serve as a dedicated source of funding to the energy sector, and the proceeds will be earmarked.
The operative word is earmarked.
Yeah, earmarked for the procurement of liquid fuel for power generation.
Where is the retirement of legacy debt in this?
But that's why I said
it's inherently inconsistent.
Whole one seed, just to procure liquid fuel.
Yes, sir.
So why do you lie to us? So you have lied not only to parliamentarians, but you have lied to us. The opening sentence of this memorandum that accompanied the bill was to tell Ekache and say it was not exactly to retire the legacy debt. Say, see, I getting to the end.
Fuel. It is what it is.
So you have lied to us, and look at the amount. Look at the amount I added to so 1 cedi. That is way more than you can say the cumulative levies and everything I added to so over the last 8 years. No? In fact, by 100%. What is here?
Yeah.
Your first amendment. This is the first time the NDC is getting the chance to amend this act.
Yeah, this act.
Our first amendment, is 100 times more than over the last 8 years. And young Kotia, near Kumikran, the analysis of Muye say, yen pay no because the bill gain.
Yeah,
what kind of a bogus argument is this?
Why is it bogus?
What are you saying?
Yeah, but relax.
Why is it bogus?
You see, they are making this analysis proceeding on the assumption say Ghana for the rate at which our year tough is ideal and your problem. Say, oh, no boy, this is the cheapest we can get. That is the assumption they are making. The fact that we are tolerating the fuel price today in Chelsea is the ideal price. And because of dollar, we stood to gain even lower fuel prices. No. We are going to take that away from you because we are going to impose a certain levy that will neutralize again now dollar no at the amount. No. But like I've mentioned earlier, Midikanka said, this is not a currency that is stable over the long period. It is our hope that in the medium to long term, you bet stable currency. But our currency is not stable. And if I say in the next quarter, and I'm even stretching it, if I say in the next quarter, the dollar starts to gain strength against the CDBM, what is going to happen to us? The gain Awuka said this will offset, no. Not only have we lost it, but we are beginning to incur even further cost. And teachers
unfortunately, no, a condition like that was not
in the exactly.
Say ABR.
In the event the currency begins to
reduce the way that is not in there. It left to the discretion of the finance minister.
It is not even in his discretion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's infinity. Yeah.
You see, and it's not even in the discretion of the finance minister because until they amend the act BM,
yes,
he cannot sit in his office and say, "Oh, currency, I'm a conformity matches on this to me, no."
Why are you talking about hypothetical issue?
What are you talking about?
The law.
That's the law. What is hypothetical?
Now currency, no, and they am 10.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
A bit to me. Okay, that's fine.
What is a bit to me?
That's fine.
You see,
I think he wants you to live in the now.
No, do you understand what the analysis is? When Obi here, why do you do? You see, people do nowcasting and forecasting. Why do people do forecasting?
So why you not forecasting? Why are you not forecasting that way?
You see, I'm making an argument.
Whoever thought a bit to be 17 and they are about 10.
Yeah. That's a fair point, man. We are
17 about 10.
If we
14 there about 10.
About 10, yes.
But you see, I don't want to talk down the currency, but this is not even sustainable. But for another day.
Yes.
As I brought this in, they said they are saying, say, yenti or how na sa one cedi ebe brain no because they claim there are gains made from exchange rates, gains whatever. And Nyame can say, and then currency no I slightly stably. What if Ochinebi elusive value? What happens to us? And is it a crime? Say Yensu for the first time we are getting some respite because of exchange rate differentials. Musi no yem mamweni njida.
Almost say the respite almost 3 cedis decrease. And it's
what is 3 cedis decrease?
It is from 14 to 10 no. When you Tobo. When you buy 3 cities, it is at 3 cities that when you buy 1%. No,
is that
buy 1 city free?
Is that the simplistic calculation they did?
That's what the finance minister said.
Oh, wow. So because the exchange rate, is moved from 14 to 11 cities thereabout.
No, the price of fuel. The price of fuel has moved from 14 per liter. Is it 14? 14, no, 15 per liter to 12 per liter.
Less than 12.
Yeah, into a 3 cities drop. It is not 3 cities. Buy 1 city.
It is not as if that was the ideal price of fuel.
It against your percent.
What is government?
Oh,
what was the price?
Why are they not in power? Why are they not in power? No, and yet me if you are coming,
now then all the time.
Note it down. Note it down. And to Obi, here in there, we don't deserve to enjoy the full benefits of the strength of the currency, and that chinchina chesa aben. Yes, can be, and yes, that's the argument. Now, and I find it to be very insensitive and unconscionable. Say at least a Niger and Anka air bagana for trotro drivers need passengers. They be on because anytime there is an increase, it is transferred to the consumers. For the first time, Yamia Adum, because the transactions are dollar denominated. Nasi a currency no enya honde. At least, you can say. Kakra ye humbe in high no musi debi aji ye free ye yisasike mu edima aban. But look at this, how did we get to the point as says here musi muntimi ntofwe ye go signing all kinds of ridiculous power purchase agreements, and we are paying capacity charges and ye tofwe so. And the question I keep asking myself is, and in the memorandum he claims that PUS for say and tofwe more
and the cost is not added to the tariff setting.
Maybe say and tofwe more. The price of electricity will increase by 50%.
Increase by almost 50%. Yes.
Obi, generation. That's the question I keep asking. You buy kilowatt hour of power, and yes, sir, that's what they sell to you.
Yes.
Why don't you have an agreement that says, okay, we will generate our own power, and when we generate, this is how much we are selling it to you. In fact, in any event, they say you are buying generated power. What I say? They don't say they are selling to you power generated with fuel from government. And yes, there are all kinds of companies that are willing to generate power with their own fuel and then sell it to you at a price that is reasonable. But Mumu Kosani agreements, first the ridiculous part was whether they are in operation or not, Yebeti or Muka. Secondly, ye never start off fuel amomo. And these are not SOEs, so they are not SOEs in the energy sector. These are private entities. And Tikana, where we are today, it was visited upon us by a certain government. Abana Saba, Yamia Yadum, some respite Kakrebi, Babanzi ye. Say, and Jim one city and free, Sikana and Ankamudi Tofuel, and free Moha. They will be doomed so. And you see, this rhetoric and this trick, I call it trick, and your rhetoric began the very first day. There was a change in government. So, Yan Tofuel in the next 5 days, they will be doomed so. That has always been the trick. Now we are in the next how many hours? 5 hours. Be hours be. Say Yan Jessica and Tofuela. Ghana will be in darkness. Yeah. That's always been the trick. And I'm inclined to agree with the suggestion by George Quartin said, this procurement economy is what is driving some of these, tricks. Say, why are we fixated on buying fuel?
Because for now, there is no other option.
You see, and that is the reason yedi one city, able to yakoto fuel, yedi one city, air 2 and so. Couldn't look. Already there are capacity charges.
Yes.
Capacity charges, and there are some other new mobile. First, their accounts are the monies go there, they just sit down. Can't we, in the interim, everyone said this is an emergency? Can't we use some of the monies in some of the accounts to buy some emergency fuel?
For the rest of the year, we need to raise. We need $1.3 billion for fuel purchases alone to power our plant for the rest of the year.
Is this the first time we are buying fuel?
No.
So what is different about what we used to do before?
I think, do you know why they actually increased electricity prices by 14%.
Who increased electricity prices?
Yeah, you did.
Now, electricity prices how can increment? It was in the IMF stuff.
Another lie.
What are you saying? What are you saying? It was part of the conditionalities. What are you saying? It was part of the conditionalities.
Obi, what the IMF can say? There must be routine tariff adjustments.
So there is a normal thing.
Adjustment
you pay
can be up, can be down, can be stable.
Depending on the circumstance and the variables at play at any point in time.
The reason why you gave it this time, when you look at the cash waterfall, one of the reasons why they do the increment is to buy fuel.
Yeah, that cash water flow.
Yes,
that's been the reason.
It's to buy
so
fuel.
That you get enough money to buy fuel for the IPPs. And yes, sir. But you see,
no, I'm afraid criminals. President Mahama say criminals.
Don't make it right. No, but he's the host. I think that this, and we need to resist this, whether it is extended to 16th June or not. This is not something I say tolerate. And already Medica said, look, we all hope that the city will do better. But this is, I mean, if history is any indication, our currency has never been stable for the longest, for as far as I can remember.
Why can't you be optimistic for
but
once?
The
optimism doesn't pay the bills.
President of the Republic said, in fact, he wishes cross based on your Mudiagu Aquamono and Kabeba for more.
That's a question. If you have any information.
But due to other factors and considerations, they are looking at maintaining it between 10 and 12.
You don't maintain.
What say the true value in their estate? Was say when the finance minister and Esiama Ekoshe Demono. Our decision is that the value of the city should be between 10 and 12.
It's not for them to determine. It's not for them to decide. It's a market that decides. You see, and you see.
But you can.
Hold on. You can't. Ghana's exchange rate regime. Exactly.
You see, Obi. You see,
you have more than enough time. Ghana's exchange rate regime is floating, which means you don't buy a Bank of Ghana how much the city should cost to the dollar. What has here?
Yes.
This I will say you want to keep it between 10 and 12. It's not in your control.
On to me,
but you know,
excessive supply.
Excessive supply. Who can find one?
As a man, okay.
Oh, Ghana's way, your friends say get on quite day.
SLTF.
Student loan.
Student loan trust fund. Because some no article came. One, or $dollars. Say a day na buy no ya ama dollar no aba AFM obi me no mienu na atena last 2 weeks we starting here. In fact, I've heard you couple of times Obi, you have spoken about certain interventions
I just told you the government doesn't have the control
what do you mean say government doesn't have the control?
You see, if you understand these things, you will not be saying the things you are saying.
What I say, we agree on the face of it, sir. A function of demand and supply, and that when government has a strategy to always have enough dollar in the
system,
that's where I'm coming to.
Can be artificially done.
No, that you see,
that's the point.
Intina economists regard the floating exchange regime as heavily managed floating exchange regime.
Sure.
It's not purely floating regime.
Sure.
And that's been one of our problems. Say, when there are issues, we get Bank of Ghana to auction dollars. And it's not as if a by or sunku or some novel economic plan by they decided to auction dollars.
Put more dollars in the system.
Which is wrong.
How is it wrong?
You are managing the exchange. You see, that's what we are saying. Say you are hold on.
If for the better if for the better part of your term, you can have enough gold to ensure
exactly to have the forest in the system. What is wrong with that?
Very good. Yes. You see, what you do when you do that, you know what happens?
No.
You are starving your reserves.
That's true.
So at every point in time, you are forced. It's just like what you are doing is contrivance.
Yes.
You are trying to pretend as if all is well, but it's not.
Yes. Disaster.
What is here? Because anytime there is some shock,
disaster you can't hold.
look, you are finished, and the shock could be the prices of gold. Above from one, we are done. But if you allow the system to
grow real sector,
exactly, but so that they contribute more, they export more, and there's more forex, and your reserves are stronger. Even when there's a shock, your reserves can take care of that. But Uber, instead of showing up the reserves, you auction the dollars. Now,
but the truth of the matter, when you look at the reserve growth now, and they make the argument, say the NPP took over a reserve growth of 8 tons.
That's gold, though. Don't
8 tons of what?
Gold, okay.
Gold,
8.1.
No, our reserves is not just gold. Cash and
gold.
You know, we call them reserve assets.
Tons of gold.
Yeah, gold. Yeah.
And Modeba 30.
Yeah.
Over 8 years. And I'll be no policy in this start. I think it's within
2023.
It's about 2 years.
July 2023.
2 years. And I'm also say they have 4 years. So far, first 5 months, apart from gold for forex now or more, even the reserve, normally they 2 tons.
It's not true. The reserves they have added is about 0.6 tons. It's not even 1 ton. No.
You do not know.
When the latest figure
but
the latest figure I have is 31 tons. When did the new one come?
That was when?
Obi.
That's about last week or last week. Just
now
Refi said
I take for one.
When you take a country's reserve assets, your gold, cash, which is in other forex, any your SDRs.
Sure.
These are the your reserve assets that help you build your reserves, right? Now, you see the DNA Akoka gold, do you say?
Less than a ton.
Oh, is this not
a little over a ton?
Joy has actually done a story on it. Your own studio. He's done a story.
Kofi, articles where we are matic. Now I Kofi Nekasa.
My catch was a memo of time.
I
also here 1 minute to talk. I take my minutes.
The question I'm asking is in cash, on cash basis. Reserve saying that they can't reserve assets. No,
that one I don't know.
And that's the point I'm making.
You have the figures.
No, on cash.
No, I'm talking on cash basis.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. So
when him say, we come and auction the money.
Yes, so far for the small scale gold now, all those monies, I have forest to show up here. Wait.
What is here? Until how long are we going to continue doing this? This is not a model that is sustainable.
Even if they can get gold for the better part of the
and all we do is we come and sell the dollars. Auction dollars. Is that what we are going to be doing?
I'm saying gold no.
If I am media, whatever it is, gold, cotton. But yet it's instead of adding the money to go and show up reserve assets, now we auction the dollars because we want to have this artificial stable exchange rate.
Yes.
And that is why the president can say with some certainty that we want to keep it between 10 and 12. Which means in the long term the model is to be selling dollars.
Yes.
And like I said, one shock
would crumble
everything. It will boomerang because it's not sustainable.
Okay.
And I'm saying that if we have this scenario and you are saying kakra you free against from forex, exchange rate appreciation, and currency appreciation. We say, India, we should enjoy everything. I say, now, so what happens to us? Anytime there is an increase in fuel prices, we beg drivers not to transfer, and because almost they have to survive, they transfer it to us, and near majority of Ghana for frucas, fuel. Let's enjoy some semblance of respite.
Yes.
We see Debbie, it's too much for us.
Drivers now are buying ultimatum, say on the 10th.
withdraw.
Drivers na there.
Withdraw.
Mahu ACC almost say
withdraw.
withdraw.
Drivers na there.
I saw it. Maybe me
Okay.
WhatsApp platform biso.
Oh,
we say hi, Obi, please. Special greetings.
Has been published as well.
I patiently listened to my brothers Atik and Kofi, and they have really made a good point. Please, my humble question is an alternative considering the current power issue. Thank you. GPRTU suspends nationwide strike after talks with government over 1 Ghana cedi fuel. What's the source? Let me see. Let me see the source. My major source, no. So we are
Extreme Media Online.
Hey.
Extreme Media Online.
Extreme Media Online. I
What be that? What be that?
Now, today news. Today news.
I've just been maybe Ghana's gold reserves rises by 1.63 tons in 5 months, reaching 32.16 tons in May 2025 from 30.53 tons in December 2024. It was Joy News.
Okay.
Joy News. This is.
And what is the source?
Joy News, powered by Joy Business. That's the artwork. The date is not on the artwork. It's here on a production at the SND. It will find the date. But we're stream media assembly. Okay.
So you see, Obi Kasamwa.
My joy.
No, hold on. So, of course. Why? Omo take you almost sources and no. Almost sources was from My Joy Online. My Joy Online. GPR2 suspends planned strike over 1 fuel levy after meeting just as you read it.
That's fine.
So what are you saying? So also when we go say
no, who now can stream media?
I know me can we say na kwado who go and what he how when you anya na joy you am what he how when you
I think man
I wanted to talk about change.
It's Obi first and foremost no. Sisi ano machirem amagana fo ne obi wahunu se eye GPRTU and now must suspend the plan strike. That's the first thing. Yes. Secondly, the issue of the dollar. Atik abejina ha workers. You see, Atik credit the government kakra. Look, say another Danko Kufuor timer, he would have called you a naysayer. You instead of you to be optimistic, say dollar no, and who are then rather bet me at tomorrow. Atik te ha. So me pacho kasana na mo Atik. No kasana mo.
Oh na no media me too.
O ti ase.
Obi asempa iti.
Na o so maka cho asempa iti. Me nche ma cha 20 minutes na wi. Obi na Nadu would have told Atik say oye naysayer ba yen kasa nkyere no. Because ye gitu mu say criticism and a boama ban no say be ejina ne nan so na oye ne niam a o so wo den oye obi uye no so firi ho a ene Kofi Tonto wabetena ha oye calculation e de ama eye adroba fo sika o mu benya with the 1 Ghana cedi eye increase na ye ka ho asem Kofi Tonto mutimi ye calculations a emra mo gi 11 no mo anya calculation ahia na nke beko Ghana fo boto mu ana emra na mo je COVID-19 tax want me anya calculation Kofi Tonto one who Ghana from mo ba anya sa eye fair say emra mo je hold on emra mo je betting tax Kofi want to me anya sa calculation and then never betting ha you are doing a calculation of what please Kofi nyaboche and of course say won kasa bio na me kra me ne wan kama so refi studio ko because we
kasa yetio
o si ase obi want me anya calculation o and Ghana for the amount of money we were losing with the e-levy amount of money of course, the Ghana for were losing in their pockets with the e-levy. The amount of money Ghanaians were losing in respect of a year friend saying better a year tax. Nini na went to be a year calculation. What about better a year calculation? Obi, na calculation no crowd all year and on any day. First of all, Obi, idea was in Nigeria and say a yes alpha somewhere year came. At a point in time in this country, Obi, forward me Koya could do 23 Ghana cedi. Is it not true?
Per liter
23 Ghana cedi. And a liter and I'm heaven. Liter number about 10 point something a year Ghana a year cedi. Obi and sanity.
What is the price of crude today?
Oh, please stop it. Stop it.
How much was it?
Please stop it. And I know is it the only determinant factor? Is it the only determinant factor? That is not all the only determinant factor. One of the factors is the dollar. As a say, would disregard the dollar. No. What's that say? That's one of the factors. Look, a consular could do 23 Ghana cedi. Obi. Sabreno. One year calculation a driver for says he can't move from Botomuno, Sabia Dawson. And now Baba will do 10 Ghana cedi, a little over 10 Ghana cedi. Obi. Now
liter no.
Liter, yes.
10 cedis.
A little over 10 Ghana cedi. Oh, Costa oil.
I buy from Star Oil.
10 points, I think 10.8 or 10.9. 10.8 or 10.9. Please check from Star. It is not true. Check from Star. Check from Star. I have 10 point something. Please stop that. Please stop that. 10 point something. Yet to me about the drew 10 point something. Let's even assume and run it up to even 11 Ghana cedi. What is the difference from a year 23 to 11? Obi, calculate the year difference. Some make at the time there was a timer. Well, but there was a timer. The year 23. And you didn't talk about the hardship. Ghana for no ko mu emra na year 23 no. And no dey one make am wasem. Na eswate yate so e dey aba. Kofi so una o ka asem nti na me respond to you no. And na yetumi ate so dey aba 10 or 11 obi. And no, Barbeka. I don't know. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
You are doing this to Ghanaians.
Please.
Now, see on check.
But we are. Oh,
11.77.
Even if it is 11.7, what is the difference? Obi, no, but what is even the difference? What is the difference? What the young fans say 12 CD. At the point now, 23. At a point in this country, a year diesel was sold at 23 Ghana cedis. At a point, and no, you didn't talk about the fact say a driver for Sebi or more went to me and can want some. You are talking about a year. Obi, Kofi Tonto was highly inflated IPP contract. No, I'll come there. Of course, let me respond first. Oh, please. Let me respond first. Obi, Ube take you over governance for 8 solid years. Before we now see you inflate a IPP contractor, you enter into Obi. Oba Mary, Ube say about 17 member a year committee or so. Obi Anamebwa, and one called Dubai could try tea and more. And I just announced Obi. One more called Dubai could try tea by a deal the film buy. Why na ultimate chain and say why inflate a year figures of the year contract? Oh please. Okay, one out channel. Obi hold on. Sena Boni Womua Obi Boni Womua Obi hold on Boni Womua at the intina 1 year with this aboneno 1 member and your money. What are you saying? Obi Emfa Nonto and Cheng. That's that aside. Obi yet as a government, a year the agitation and a kasa abaho a year sa 1 a year Ghana cedi increment ya pese ye deban. And yentiasi nyina say Obi. So Osha Ghana for no obra or bre for the past 8 years. The difficulties they have had to endure, Obi. Oha a year taxes are kesia ye dibe gu so maka COVID-19 maka levy maka a year betting tax and the taxes about 30 taxes are a binder than you train for the past 8 years. Oh please, stop that. I think Jaisa. I think Jaisa. Hey, that is all MVP. Oh yes, hey, I never knew. Okay, now you know. Okay, so now after you as an MP person. What you say? You Obi, what? Now we know Obi, I have to protect my guest. I'm your guest, Obi.
So he's really protected.
Let me Obi won't do more mics. Obi
Kojo Dankwa.
Share the difficulties the Ghanaian people have had to endure for the past 8 years. Look at the hardship or how Amani Hunu Kodana and a year in Ruma, a good year or I just say cost of living in this country will be for the past 8 years. Now you are nothing. And until it's time to reason why and they just one Ghana city to a so Ghana for a casa, and we understand them, Obi. And it's
the word just very offensive.
Well, let me withdraw that. Yeah, the one city to so Ghana for a casa. You see, make her just because Obi. Oh, please stop it. Make her just because of the difficulties they've had to endure over the past 8 years. What's a sad difficulty? No, you levy ni bet and their taxes no more than 2 years. No, and you one Ghana city, Obi. A 2 more good Ghana for and only one Ghana city. And until America say it's just one Ghana a city. Obi. Oh, stop it.
The reason why he used just, Mama.
It is not just. Eslabai, has anybody ever reviewed it?
Obi,
no.
So stop it. Stop it. Jani awoyen. But Obi, adia bakwa I was here tiasi and say, look, aban biano say obehe na omind ubejina. There are times you need to take better pills. You must take very decisive decisions.
Stop.
Stop. You see what is happening. You see what is happening. You see what is happening.
You guys are not being fair.
What you see what is happening.
No. Allow the deputy CEO to speak, please. At least more
telling us to swallow
with a Land Cruiser
that consumes a lot. He draws deep well.
Land Cruiser Ben and who's
whether Land Cruiser
Ben, which is Obi, you see where distraction. Distraction. The distraction.
No, what's Obi is not about opposition. What you feel for was he in the end? That we should swallow bitter pills.
Obi, distraction. Next time a bar, make us first. Now make us first. We are Obi may come in and now chef Obi and Kasawa.
Hey,
make us first.
1 minute, wrap it up, man.
Obi, mame wrap it up.
Yes.
Obi near catcher Ghana for you and say. You know, you nim or how I in your mudi and coom, a car or bro at the Google. And ne Yababa to Sa Canoa. I was here Shana and Kanya Nijinaso. Obi see Henny and Kanya in Naswa. At your how can your pan a bray as or mine. A crime benson ya besha ebema yen kanye na gina so Obi, we could have used the option of say Ghana phone tria for the fu ono a ye tono ye input in the light bill. Now so Obi, that will add an in excess of 40% increment in light bills. And we and ye here ehunu say there be ye mfa kwan foforo so a the burden no enye so huge on the ordinary Ghanaian. Now you have one Ghana city. Emrameto the already existing Esla so. And you see, Omokasa as though where ye at the forefront and as a new tax Obi Yadiaba. Where any new tax? Obi, it is something which existed. It's an amendment. Adi ordered that. And
the incident on the tax payment.
But you agree, say it's something that existed already.
Absolutely.
And so you can even say we have not introduced any new tax. You introduce any new tax, just that amendment in here. Oh, please.
Okay, you've not introduced new tax.
So Obi, yakase ye nyani etuyano. Ye the one city baba toso. And even the Ghanaians are better off than under time one ye turn a year fuel at a certain a year price, because a year fuel ye turn about 12 Ghana cedis. And can under somebody now almost about a year 17 to 23 Ghana cedis. What you say? It is all the account na 13. Is it not far better than time one hour turn a year 17 cedis? It is far better than that.
prices are not fixed. They keep changing.
They keep changing, but we are better managers of the economy. We are going to manage the exchange rate very well, such that the dollar no need CD na ho de no, CD ne be man ho so etia dollar no, and prices na be changing no, and cost rather it's either say you be maintain a prices no, and answer the prices will rather go down. It's obi.
Oh, please.
No, I'm just asking.
Please.
You
see, devil's advocates that will play na jai. Obi, your best
your assumption say will never go up.
Your best Ghana for. Say omonte yase. Because your person en kania no ejina so. Your person en kania no modi ye madwuma no mubenya ne dada ade ye madwuma. Anka ye nuan mo ba no ono mo ye adwuma pa. Ehwe ye niam puti niam in place. Anka sa brenka obi nki eni ha o. Anka sa brenka eni ha. But o ma say niam amaye no. And I'm a cow more brogu yenson, and you do a beer we. It's your best Ghana for. Where dear, oh,
Obi Chejemo,
now, yes, I was saying, a can saying
3.1.
From saying to 3.1.
Well, whether from saying you see anything you introduce, hold on, anything you introduce you Esla in 20. Oh, please. And nothing you introduce you Esla in 2015. And I'm a wow. What you see, you've superintended over Esla for well over 8 years. You introduced here one guy's out here. Okay, it was only 1 year, and we had an opportunity to utilize the proceeds from
the 2.5 billion on Babeto, and no, the only a car.
But hold on, 2.5 billion now on Babeto. Obi, hold on, 10 years, 2.5 billion. A legacy debt, mind you, and your car NDC. Oh, that is it. What are you saying? That is it. What are you saying? Legacy debt.
Let's do this.
No.